Keyonte George's jump has changed everything. Next on Locked On Jazz.
You are Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Lauri, I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. This is Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz, giving you insight, expertise, geeky numbers, and hopefully making it way better to be a Jazz fan each and every day. I know this weekend made it way better to be a Jazz fan each and every day. Incredible wins over both Detroit and San Antonio. We will be talking about that. Thank you for making Locked On Jazz your first listen. I have a light that's popping in and out. I don't know if you can tell. And thank you for making Locked On the number one sports podcast network in the land. Thank you so much. All right. Today's show, we will do our Trends Monday. We will look at the two different wins and how we knocked off both Detroit and San Antonio. And we are starting with the fact that Keyonte George's jump has absolutely changed everything, and trying to put some perspective with a not great sample size on it yet, but we're 31 games in. We're now getting close to halfway through the season, and the kid is just remarkable in what he's doing. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel, before tip-off, check out the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 Eastern. All right. I got a line from or Twitter note from someone who said, I told you we're going to win 30 games and you thought I was insane. I did. They are playing way better than I anticipated. Beating Detroit and San Antonio is more than I anticipated. Particularly at 108 the other night. Tied in San Antonio on the back end of a back-to-back. I certainly thought it was that they'd fall apart, and they didn't. It's really impressive, and it really stems. And then you add in the fact that Walker's out for the year. Like, how did this happen? There's a lot of credit that needs to go around, but it all starts with Keyonte. Keyonte George's jump has absolutely changed everything. And the biggest part about it is the consistency. If you go to the first 10 games, and he's getting better. First 10 games of the year, he shot 44% from the field and 27% from three. Second 10 games of the year, he shot 45% from the field. He shot 37% from three. And in the last 11 games, he has taken 8 free throws a game while shooting 46% from the field and 43% from three. That's 27 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists a game over the last 11 games. That's probably too big a jump, right? Like, that's too big I don't think we can expect 46, 43 as his shooting numbers for the year. It's too big a role. But he's hot, and he's playing with confidence. And then the other aspect is how good we've been late in games. Like, this is last year we were the worst late game team in the NBA. And right now, we're one of the best. And Keyonte, to credit to Will and the staff, that Keyonte and Lauri get the shots. They've got this team understanding they're getting the right shots, the right guys, the right opportunities. And not only that, but the execution and the level of play late from Keyonte in the biggest moments is pretty incredible. Last year, as I mentioned, we lost more games. This year, our offense is the 11th best offense in the clutch. Our defense is the 3rd best defense, which is, considering what we do defensively, pretty surprising. But even the 11th best offense is great. Let's try to put in perspective what Key's doing. If you look at his career numbers, it's still not clear, right? And there's a lot of people out there that would tell you, hey, I'm going to live by a sample size bigger than 30 games. And I think any of us that are watching this right now would tell you, oh, this feels like a totally different player, and it's different. So Keyonte, if we take some filters and look at third-year players in the NBA in the last 20 years. So third-year players in the NBA last 20 years, that scored 22 points a game, grabbed 3 rebounds, grabbed 6 assists, shot 43 and 34% from 3. So Keyonte's better than that right now. He's 24, 4, and almost 7. And he's 45 and 37. But let's put it in some wraps. So the 5 guards, that was my criteria, it was also guards, that have done this in their 3rd year in the NBA in the last 20 years are Luka Doncic, Trae Young, Ja Morant, Keyonte George, and Cade Cunningham. Now, in fairness, Luka Doncic and Trae Young's 3rd-year win shares are like at 7. Ja Morant's was at 6.7. Keontae's right now is at 2.1. Even if you just take that out to the rest of the season, he plays 65 games. It's at 4.2. It's not nearly as impactful. Cade Cunningham's is below that. If you narrow this down a little bit, you can pop at turn the 3-point shooting to 35%. Trae Young and Ja Morant drop off. But giving Keontae's 3-point shooting is better than any of these guys at 36.7. That has not been a strength of his career. It's 31% coming in, trying to give him some wiggle room. You continue to fiddle in here a little bit and decide, okay, well, asking for 6 assists is probably enough. Drop that to 5 assists just to drop the numbers a little bit. Drop it to 2 rebounds just to kind of understand other players that might be in this group. Widen it out. You add a Brandon Roy 3rd year in Portland. You add Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's 3rd year in Oklahoma City. He only played 35 games that year. Roy's win share was at a totally different level than everybody else here. And frankly, if you go look at Donovan Mitchell and Dame Lillard, they're not that far off. Donovan's 3rd year doesn't qualify because of the fact that in this qualification, I think we have it at 40. Well, he should at 44% shooting. Oh, 4.3 assists. Maybe when I dropped down, I thought I just dropped the assist down to 4. I dropped it down to 5. If you drop the assist down to 4, I think you get Donovan. And then Dame Lillard, frankly, should float in here pretty soon here. You drop the assist down to 4, you get Brandon Roy, Luka Doncic, Trae Young, Ja Morant, Donovan Mitchell. You get an Aaron Gordon year. You get an Anthony Edwards year. You get Shea. You get Colin Sexton in Cleveland. You get Devin Booker. You get Keyonte. And you get Cade. And his win share, again, Keyonte, that's by win share. Keontae's not going to reach the win share numbers of some of these other players. But when you just start to think about our team and our season and who we are, you're getting that caliber, all-star caliber year, right? Those players, we dropped the qualifications down, we had different players. But for the most part, the players we're talking about who are doing this, 22 points a game, 43% from 3, 34% from, and then we really should be sorting a little bit by effective field goal percentage in this day and age. And you end up, Keontae's right in the middle. Shai's the best at 57, then Luka, then Ja, then Anthony Edwards, then Key. Okay, just the names are the biggest names in the game. So the fact that Keyonte is playing at a level, let's just go with this. This is factual. Keyonte is playing at a level of the best guards in the NBA in their 3rd season in the NBA in the last 20 years. And just that level of performance, if we pull the 3rd year out of it, you have an elite level guard running the show with a massive amount of maturity right now. And, what does that really tell you? That's changed everything of who we are. That's a top 100 NBA player, probably top 60, top 50. Luka Doncic is obviously a different level. Shai's a different level than this. Anthony Edwards probably a different level than this. But that doesn't, okay, so maybe he's not one of the 10 best, but he's now in the zip code performance of those guys. Well, that changes everything about who we are as a team. Now, we can get into a whole discussion of how far we should push and what we should do. But how are we beating Detroit and San Antonio? Incredible connectivity of this team right now, improving as the game goes on. We're going to talk about those things. But the main thing that's going on here of how we're suddenly pacing at a 30-something win team instead of a 15-win team is that Keyonte George went from a borderline NBA player at 40% shooting and 31% from three to having a third year up with equal to the third best third years of players in the NBA, of guards in the NBA over the last 20 years. It's a game changer. And then you add in two other elements to it right now that are probably the most important: consistency and late game execution, and you have a real difference maker. So another little interesting thing going on with him and Isaiah Collier. I'll share that with you and then talk about the two wins this weekend as well as we continue on today's edition of Locked on Jazz. Monday edition of Locked on Jazz is brought to you by our friends over at Murdoch Chevy, located in Woods Cross, also located in Logan. The Chevy trucks, Americana, everything that makes things special about Utah are the Murdochs and Chevy, and it's all there for you. Whether it's the Suburban or the Tahoe, the Equinox or the Traverse, whether it's the electric Volt or the electric Silverado, Chevy is there for you, and the Murdochs are going to make sure you have a no-regret experience. Let's get you set up over at Murdoch Chevy. If you're going to head over there this time of year, you can get a little tax break for the next 3 days. Go visit at Murdoch Chevy. Email me first at dlock09@gmail.com. That's dlock09@gmail.com to get set up with a VIP meeting that you deserve over at Murdoch Chevy. Today's show is also brought to you by FanDuel. Get into the action with FanDuel right now. Every game, every night, all the fun is there for you with FanDuel's. Fridays already feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel's making them even better. Every Friday night before games tip off, FanDuel gives new fans a new way to kick off with NBA Happy Hour. That's right, NBA Happy Hour is the official pregame, a limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before action starts. Fridays between 6 and 7:30 Eastern have become appointment viewing for NBA Happy Hour. Open the FanDuel app during Happy Hour, bring something new, boosts, bonuses, surprises. Check the weekly special before tip-off, make the move before the window closes. The timing's perfect right before games, right before the weekend start. It adds extra energy to Friday night basketball. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app. See what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30. A little basketball, a little action, a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour only on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Thanks so much for making Locked on Jazz your first listen. Thank you for making Locked on the #1 sports podcast network. Thank you for being an everydayer. If you've joined the Everydayer Club for $5 a month, you get commercial-free broadcasts or ad-free feeds, your feed. You get access to our Discord club. You also get Discord club. Oh, and Locked on Sports Today daily podcast coming to you exclusively on audio. And then if you want to be a part of the Everydayer All Access Club, you get direct text messages back and forth with me. You get my daily game notes. You get my prep. You get some notes from inside the game when it's available for you, giving you a Leaf to Lean extra bonus content. He did a whole thing on Cody Williams and some of the young players on the Jazz and where they're coming along. Great extra bonus content for you on the Everydayer Club. That's $15 a month. Plus, you get 15% off the merch store, and you get a daily newsletter, and you get all sorts of extra content coming your directions. Welcome to Adam Nathan Platt, a brand new member of the Everydayer Club. Welcome to Sam Schroeder. Welcome to Josh Birch as well. Welcome to Jeff Phillips, and welcome to Rick Allison, all brand new members of the Everydayer Club. You can do it too as well. All you have to do is go to lockedonjazz.supercast.com. That's lockedonjazz.supercast.com. One of the things Will Hardy mentioned that Keyonte is doing very, very well in this last stretch is playing with Isaiah Collier. I haven't looked at the team numbers. It's worthwhile looking at of what the team does when the two of them are on the floor together. What I did look at is what does it do for Keyonte? And what's interesting is His usage goes way up. So when he's playing off the ball with Isaiah, his usage goes way up. He gets more shots, surprisingly. His 2-point shots are assisted 56% of the time, whereas when Isaiah's off the floor, they're only assisted 45% of the time. So that's pretty interesting. The other one of interest is that his efficiency stays the exact same. We're terrible when the two of them are on the court together. I actually know this for a fact because the defense has been atrocious. Now, largely that's because they play most of those minutes without Nurk. And so what you really want to start looking at is how we do when we're with Nurk, and it's actually not. I looked at it the other day. It's not much better. And then then you say, well, that's probably because most of those minutes are without Lauri. So you start to piece this thing together. It still's never good. So the numbers right now on the Isaiah Collier, Keyonte George lineup are awful. Just share with you. They're just like minus 15 plus. So I don't know that I really think this is a long-term answer. It's not a great sample size right now of time together, but I fiddled with it the other day and started to try to find all the different, like, what happens if I put this guy in here or add this guy here or take this guy here? This can't really be true. And really, it just has to do with the defense has been atrocious with the two of them on the floor together. So it doesn't really matter if Nurkic is in or if Kevin Love's in or Markkanen's in. There's some lineups here or there that, like, there's one with Bryce Sensabaugh that actually is fine. But just so you, just kind of a note on that. I'm not sure. So I guess what I'm telling you is I'm not sure I think that's a long-term answer. As Keyonte has shown us, as Walker showed us a year ago, like, these guys develop and change. So it is not an answer right now, would probably be the right way to say it. Here's what jumped out at me about the two games this weekend. Two things. Okay. One, let me just be perfectly clear. They shot the lights out. Okay. Like, they shot, I think, 45% from three in two games. And the way the league works is if you go do that, you generally have a pretty good, like, let's just, right? So let's be honest about that. I'm not diminishing it because we're going to get the lights shot out against us and we're going to say, but, like, that is how this league swings a little bit, is if you really shoot the lights out. It's less and less this way because of the fact that everyone's shooting threes. But we shot, I think, 45% from three in each game. So that swings games. Particularly the San Antonio game, we made shots. They didn't. They're not as good. They're not a great shooting team. Without De'Aaron Fox, they didn't get as good looks. We took advantage. Like, again, but we shot 17 of 37 from three. They shot 10 of 44. We make 7 more threes. That's 21 points. That's hard for them to overcome, even though they had a bunch of areas where they did that. And against Detroit shot lights out also, so that's we stayed in the game. But I think both teams that night shot over 47, 48% from three. Kind of crazy. By the way, just to understand how great the NBA is, the reason I know that is these are the 25th and 26th best three-point shooting teams in the league coming in, and they both shot over 48% from three. Like, wild. Okay. The other two things that jumped out to me was the connectivity of the group. Will's got this team playing hard, playing together. This goes back to me to a story I've been telling all year long, which is that when the Jazz traded Jordan Clarkson, Colin Sexton, and John Collins, they opened up the oxygen in the room. And the young players have taken the oxygen in the room and they feel tremendous ownership to what's going on. And Will has been able to get that across to them. And these guys feel it, want it, are into it, are connected to this, are getting better, are feeling as though they have things they want to get done. And that that effort and desire to be good and not as a group is carrying this team a large amount. The other thing that's showing is they're getting better as the game goes on. If you go back through those games, the Jazz defense in the first quarter on the Detroit game was pretty awful. Detroit scored 36 points in the first quarter, and the Jazz stayed with them, and Detroit just was kind of getting everything. And then the Jazz just got a little bit better as the game went on, and the Jazz exploded in the third quarter. And the same story I thought was true in the San Antonio game. The Jazz stayed in the games. The offense was super good in the first quarter. They scored 32 points a game, but they allowed 40. And then they just got better at their game plan. The San Antonio game, to me, was the best collective defensive effort I've seen from this team in a long time. NBA.com, unfortunately, I was harping earlier on wide open shots. One, I didn't think we gave up nearly as many wide open shots. But moreover, the goal was to clog the paint in both those games. I thought the San Antonio game, guys dribbled and Cody Williams and others reached in and got hands on balls and had an impact and bothered San Antonio, which was interesting because San Antonio was able to spread the floor enough against Oklahoma City that they didn't have that problem. We're not a particularly good defensive team. We have not had an above average defensive game since we played Brooklyn, but that was the best defensive game against San Antonio we've played pretty much since then. The Orlando overtime games right there, the Dallas overtime games right there. They're both kind of all together. But that defensive rating of a 117.5 is as good as we've had in the games. It's the best defense we've had against the shot, which, again, might be fortunate, might not, all year in a long time. And the Detroit game was the highest turnover rate that we have forced in any game since the Brooklyn game, and the second highest or third highest we have all year. So there was a really good defensive effort, improved throughout the night within the capability of what this group can do defensively, which is, I think, limited. The other one that was really cool was the different contributions from different guys on different nights. So if you go back to the Spurs game, the Detroit game, Bryce Sensabaugh, Ace Bailey goes out. By the way, I don't mean this. This is truthful. Ace Bailey's injury helped the Jazz win those two games. Ace is still searching on the floor and makes a lot of plays and does a lot of exciting things. He also misses a ton of rotations, does a bunch of things wrong, and it's fine, and that's great. But it also just, in truthfulness, like, young players don't help you win. Concanible's been amazing. I don't think Charlotte's win. Concanibale might be a difference because he's just been amazing. But, like, he goes out. I don't know that Charlotte's going to win less or more games. Like, rookies don't usually help you win. In fact, they help you lose. So Ace Bailey being out for all than 11 minutes, I think, is part of the connectivity you're seeing here, that everyone was on the same page and doing the right things. And then some of the other minutes played, I think, leads to that too. Like, there's just certain guys that are consistently making the same mistakes due to lack of experience, and they got less time on the floor in these games, and therefore we saw a bunch of connectivity. But Bryce Sensabaugh was great with 33 minutes and 20 points in, and Isaiah Collier was great. Really, for a period of that game, he ended up with 9 assists, 5 turnovers a lot, and he was minus 18. But he also, like, for a period of that game against San Antonio, really altered the tempo. For Detroit, altered the tempo. And then Cody Williams and Walt Clayton Jr. were terrific in the Spurs game. Walt was terrific. Obviously didn't miss a shot, but just played aggressively, played a scorer. And Will, after the game, talked a lot about how, Walt's really just a scorer, not a shooter. And you come into the NBA and you just become a shooter. And he's trying to find a way to let him be him. Bryce Sensabaugh as a starter looked really comfortable. He played 34 minutes. He didn't force the game the same way. I thought he had one possession all night where he forced the game. There might be an argument that Bryce Sensabaugh playing with better players allows him to use his skills in a different way, give him more space, do some interesting things out there. Because I thought Bryce played another really good game that night. And then Cody was terrific. Cody's defense, hands up balls, 6 rebounds, open floor plays, really terrific to make those plays. And so you've got Keyonte's made this massive jump. Lauri's been consistent. Yusuf Nurkic we're maximizing everything you can get out of him within his capabilities. And then you're getting young players kind of having individual nights every now and then. And Will Hardy's pulling the trigger right now to get the right ones of those 2 games. We knocked off 2 of the best teams in the NBA. It's really impressive. Trends Monday coming your direction as we continue on today's edition of Locked on Jazz. Here's my plan for the week. Tomorrow, I'm going to get you a show. The 31st, I'm not. I don't know if you've heard. My daughter is calling the Nebraska-Utah Las Vegas Bowl for Nebraska Student Radio. She didn't have an analyst, and so I am going to Vegas in between our 2 games to do the analyst work. My wife was an NFL sideline reporter is actually, we're going to try to get her to do sidelines, but she's going to do stats and spotting. So family affair in the student broadcast booth in Nebraska for the Vegas Bowl. So that'll be a big thrill for me in my life. But I have been, yesterday I was building my, take it seriously, I was building my Nebraska boards thanks to Scotty G's boards yesterday. So I have that coming up. So I will, because I'm flying after the game, in the Boston game, there'll be no postcast, and then I won't be able to. Then the first, maybe I'll try to jam something out for you on the first before the Clipper game, and then we'll be back at it. So just no show on the 31st is what I'm telling you. Maybe no show on the 1st. Okay, every day or so I'll try to get something out to you. Let's do Trends Monday. Here's how we do Trends Monday. Every Monday we look at the trends of the league. It usually reveals us something interesting. For example, I would say if you did this last week, we kind of talked about the Lakers defense and how terrible it was. And then the story of the week became how terrible the Lakers defense is and the explosion by JJ Redick and all those kind of things. So first thing we look at is last 10 games, and then we look at last 2 weeks. We also, I think, tipped off that the Toronto Raptors were struggling. Okay, last 10 games, the number one offense in the NBA is Denver, despite missing everyone because Jokic is just incredible. Boston is 2, New York is 3, San Antonio is 4, so that shows you what a good defensive game that is by the Jazz. 5 is Houston, 6 is Detroit. The Jazz offense in the last 10 games is the 7th best in the NBA. The teams that are struggling to score right now are Toronto, Indiana, Milwaukee, Miami, Portland, and Sacramento's gotten a little better. That was the other one we've talked about a lot on Trends. Monday is that Sacramento keeps talking about how terrible they are defensively, and Doug Christie keeps doing these things about defense, and they're ranked 30th offensively. The one that's interesting, by the way, last 10 games, Minnesota's offense is back down to 21st. And they're 6-4. Defensively, last 10 games, Brooklyn is the number one defensive team in the league. First team to knock off Oklahoma City. Brooklyn's the number one defensive team in the league right now. Then OKC. Then Golden State. Then Memphis. Then San Antonio. And then Detroit. So our offense just clicked in against 2 of the top 10 defensive teams in the league. Teams that are not defending, the Jazz are last. Atlanta, 29th. Trae Young came back. The Lakers, Washington, Chicago, and Cleveland. Something's funky in Cleveland. Last 10 games, best team in the NBA is Boston, who we will see coming in here. They lost last night to Portland, but they are still, unless NBA hasn't updated their stats, you never know with NBA. So we'll see them on the 30th. Oklahoma City is 2. Brooklyn is the 3rd best team in the NBA. They've won 7 of their last 10. San Antonio is 4th. Detroit is the 5th best team. Denver's the 6th best team. Teams that are struggling. Indiana, Utah. Interesting because we got blown out. Sacramento, Washington, Portland, Atlanta, and the Lakers. Let's look at the last 2 weeks. And by the way, I have not forgotten what I also do on this usually. I have not forgotten. We're going to do it last. Don't worry. I don't want to talk about it today. I wanted to relish in the 2 wins and not talk about it, but I promised I'd do it every week, so it's coming. Last 2 weeks. Hottest team in the NBA, San Antonio. Then Boston. Then Brooklyn. Phoenix. 4-1 in their last 5 with a +8. Detroit and Chicago. So, I mean, it's just wildly impressive the Jazz knocked off those 2 teams. Last 2 weeks, Indiana's 0-8. 0-6. Atlanta's 0-6. They're both negative. Orlando's a -7.3. Paulo Banchero came back. No Franz Wagner. Interesting. Lakers -6. Philadelphia -5. And Dallas -4.5. Last 2 weeks, best offense in the NBA is San Antonio, followed by Utah. So the last 2 weeks, we have the last 7 games are the 2nd best offense in the NBA. Denver's 3rd. Chicago's 4th. Houston's 5th. Charlotte is 6th. Teams that can't score right now, Indiana, Portland, Milwaukee, Minnesota. Minnesota 27th offensively in the last 6 games. That should never happen. Brooklyn and Philadelphia. Number 1 defense in the NBA last 2 weeks. Brooklyn again. San Antonio, number 2. Oklahoma City slipping here. Boston, because San Antonio got them. Boston, Phoenix, Golden State, and Detroit. Oklahoma City's down to 8th. It hasn't been anywhere near there all year. Brooklyn, San Antonio, Boston, Phoenix, Golden State, and Detroit. Boston coming in here playing well. Last 2 weeks, worst defenses are Atlanta, Utah, Cleveland, Lakers, Indiana, Orlando, and Denver. Orlando, Lakers, Cleveland's worth keeping an eye on there. All right. Have to look at it. As of right now, we are 9th in the draft situation. Oklahoma City gets our pick. What is possible here? Indiana's lost 8 in a row and has 6 losses. We're never catching them. Washington's playing better. They have 7 wins. We have 12. I don't think we ever get under them. New Orleans threw a little burst out there, but they've lost 3 in a row. They have no incentive to lose. They have 8 wins. We have 12. There's a chance they catch us. Sacramento has 8 wins. They've lost 7 of 10. We have 12. No chance. I think we slip behind them. Clippers have won 4 in a row. They have 10 wins. We have 12. There's a good chance the Clippers get ahead of us. Brooklyn's won 7 of 10. They have 10 wins. We have 12. They have the same incentives we do, but they aren't quite as sharp, but they're playing really well. I don't know. Okay. Charlotte's won 2 in a row, 5 of 10. They have 11. We have 12. Dallas has lost 6 of 10. They have 12. We have 12. We've lost 6 of 10. We have 12. Portland has won 13 games. Now they've won 6 of 10. Milwaukee's won 13 games. They're still trying. Atlanta's kind of weird in here. Their pick goes to San Antonio right now. So they are not incentivized to lose. And Memphis is at 15. So as of right now, there's no chance I think we slide under Indiana. There's no chance we slide under Washington. New Orleans feels really unlikely, but it's possible. No chance we slide inside Sacramento. I'd be really surprised. I do think the Clippers could get us. I do think we could slide below Brooklyn or Charlotte if they keep playing the way they're playing. And Dallas is in there. But it does feel like the best, if we pull all stops out, the best we have is 5th or 6th, which still 6 means we should be, both those should mean we're all right, but it's going to probably take an effort. Is where we sit. That is Locked on Jazz Monday edition. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll be back with you tomorrow. We will look at games 21 through 30, evaluate the 7. Keyonte will stay on top. Who will follow that? It's most likely to be NBA rotation players, and I'll look at that. That's coming up on tomorrow's show. If you want to follow me on socials, it's DLock09. I've added a lot recently on Twitter, on Instagram, and on TikTok. It's DLock09. Everyday program, all access. You get daily newsletter. You get ad-free. You get notes, direct one-on-one texting. You can text me and ask questions. You get the starting lineups and the injury reports right away. You get in-game thoughts. You sometimes get post-game thoughts. Empty the noggins, too hard to do after every game. You get Leaf to Leads extra access, extra draft content and breakdowns. It's all at all access. That's $15 a month or $150 a year. You get 2 months for free. Sign up now. Go to lockedonjazz.supercast.com. That's lockedonjazz.supercast.com. Thanks very much for tuning in. We now send you the first ever 24/7 national NBA channel, Locked On NBA. Also on audio, check out NBA Game Night. Every game, every night.